Does Jonathan Price's life matter, or should we wash our hands of it? I would say first things first, and most importantly, Jonathan Price should be alive today. There was ostensibly no reason for him to be killed by the police. Does his life matter? His life absolutely matters. His life matters specifically because he was black, regardless of his views. The approach and intention of the officer is exactly why Black Lives Matter. What is reported that Jonathan was doing was in the right, an attempt to defuse the situation. Now, I'm not trying to make him out to be a hero or a martyr, but someone who's attempting to defuse the situation is someone whose life matters. And it's not to say that the other two people who in the altercation life does not matter, but this is someone who saw the good and the possibilities and the potential of those involved in the altercation. Yeah, in the middle, stopped it, apparently, and the police came about and things went awry. Oftentimes when Black people are the perpetrators or the assailants in events surrounding police or others, what's done is you dig into his past to determine his culpability. And that seems to be the case of what's done here, except it's the reverse. It's almost the reverse racism, if you will, even though that's not really a thing. But they're digging into his past to downgrade the type of Black person he was. All right, Jonathan had a thing for admiration for police, and he didn't like his own family, but he loved his second family because they took care of him, and his personal experiences were that of someone who had admiration for the police, had a thing for white women, had a thing for his white family, and not so much for his birth family. Doesn't, disregard or degrade his life and how much it actually mattered. I mean, he was a friend, he was a loved one, he was a pillar of the community, from what I understand, a youth coach, a motivational speaker. Like he was a good guy all the way around. So what if he stood on the blue line and was an endorser of police unions and police groups or what have you? His life mattered, just like any Black life that is lost. We can't vilify the victim under any condition or circumstance, regardless of what we think of him personally. If this man was not in the wrong, and even if he was in the wrong, he didn't deserve to die. Like, all life matters, and I'm not saying that to downgrade or disregard that his Black life matters, but until Black lives matter, what can we do, or what can we say? I don't like this. I don't like this one bit. I caught myself rambling there. Just in short, as a Black person, I would absolutely defend that Jonathan Isaacs, is that his name? I'm sorry, Jonathan Price, that his life matters, and his Black life, most importantly, matters as well.
Welcome back. I am Jay Del Negro, and you are experiencing the next 40 with me. What you just heard was a clip I made on October the 6th of 2020. I indicated in the previous episode that this idea and concept has been in the works for a very long time. This particular segment or this particular story will probably be as far as it'll ever go back for me. However, this was a subject at the time felt overwhelming. I can't precisely remember exactly what it was, but I felt like I was at my wit's end about the world. Again, this was October of 2020, and what was showcased in the media at that time was, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a lot of protests in the streets. I'm not 100% certain if George Floyd's death had happened by then, but I feel like it was, and that along with this at this moment was too much, and I just had to open up and say something about it and record my thoughts on it. That time was so stressful, period, because we didn't know our ups from our downs, and everything was spun up and different. People were dying for all sorts of reasons. It was not the greatest of time. And I really feel like at that moment, I just had to get something off my chest. So I did. I recorded that message. And I want to give some details and specifics around Jonathan Price because I know he wasn't a big name story, and there was a recent update just last month in September that I didn't know happened until I played this one back to listen to it again. But I want to start to break down some parts of it and see what I have to say about it now.
Does Jonathan Price's life matter, or should we wash our hands of it? I would say first things first, most importantly, Jonathan Price should be alive today. There was ostensibly no reason for him to be killed by the police. Does his life matter? His life absolutely matters. His life matters specifically because he was black, regardless of his views.
Absolutely, his life matters. I felt like at this time when this happened, there was a part of me that was losing at living because it was another example, another story, another person who could be me gone for whatever reason. This was so in my psyche and in my system at that time. I was hurt. I was terribly hurt because it was just another example again of what's happening to us. Why is this happening to us? I don't know what am I supposed to do if this continuously happens to me and people who look like me? Like how am I to make sense of any of this? This is not okay. This is hard. This is difficult. This is challenging. Why is this happening to me and people who look like me? This is what I was feeling absolutely as this was going on. And it mattered. This was the one where I felt like it mattered more than anything else before. This was the this was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, because I felt like this guy, under this context, it was more relatable than any of the other stories that had made the headlines at that point. And it was underreported. It significantly mattered to me.
The approach and intention of the officer is exactly why Black Lives Matter. What is reported that Jonathan was doing was in the right, an attempt to defuse the situation. Now, I'm not trying to make him out to be a hero or a martyr, but someone who's attempting to defuse the situation is someone whose life matters. And it's not to say that the other two people who were in the altercation life does not matter, but this is someone who saw the good and the possibilities and the potential of those involved in the altercation. Yeah, in the middle, stopped it, apparently, and the police came about and things went awry.
So to give some background on the story of Jonathan Price, I'm reading this from the Texas Tribune. This is by Jolie McCullough, and it was published on October the 6th, 2020. Same day I felt the way that I felt about it. Just 2 days after 31-year-old Jonathan Price was killed by police in North Texas, the Texas Rangers on Monday arrested the officer they say shot him, saying the officer's actions did not seem objectively reasonable. Wolf City police officer Sean Lucas, who is white, was arrested on suspicion of murder in the death of Price, who was black. The Texas Department of Public Safety said in a statement, Wolf City officials have declined to comment on the shooting, outside of noting on Sunday that the Rangers were investigating the incident and the officer was on administrative leave pending the investigation. So the story is Jonathan was at a convenience store of some sort. A fight broke out. He got in the middle of it, diffused the situation, waited for the police. When the police arrived, he shook their hand and thanked them for being there. And the police officer started questioning Jonathan and demanded that he do some things because the police officer felt that Jonathan was under the influence of something. It was a misunderstanding at best. And Jonathan was like, wait a minute, I'm the one who did the right thing. I called you guys. I'm the reason that the situation was diffused. I'm not answering questions. And he walked away. The police officer then gave other commands, hit Jonathan with the taser. Jonathan didn't react to it or wasn't affected by it or something to that effect. It wasn't like the Superman villain that he was made out to be. He tried to get away from it. Some physical altercation ensued and the officer shot Jonathan. And as a result, the Texas Rangers felt that he was culpable of murder. So after the shooting, 2 days later, the officer was arrested. And yeah, he should have been arrested. He was guilty of murder, and I'm saying guilty before going to trial. How it was reported and how it went down sounds like guilt to me. And it gets tiring. It really does. Like, to hear and see this stuff, it's hard to cope and deal with. It's just a hard space to be in, and I felt like I was in such a space. Hard is not even the word. Oftentimes when Black people are the perpetrators or the assailants in events surrounding police or others, what's done is you dig into his past to determine his culpability. And that seems to be the case of what's done here, except it's the reverse. It's almost the reverse racism, if you will, even though that's not really a thing. But they're digging into his past to downgrade the type of Black person he was. That sucks. And let me tell you and show you what I mean by digging into his past to show you the kind of Black person he was. And what was happening is certain characters would look into seeing if he was deserving of being appreciated for being a Black person because he felt a certain way. And what I'm going to read to you is actually from Jonathan Pryce's own mouth. This was via his Facebook on June 15th. With all the tension and animosity going on with race, and the one time I'm on the same fence as Lil Wayne, with him saying a white cop saved his life, and he hasn't been too vocal off experiences. Brain emoji. I was raised by the Malones and the Woodruffs in my hometown for a large amount of my youth. Was my second family then and still are in 2020. If I have anything to say, the amount of food fed to me they spent on me outweighs any BS about race or color right now. I have family that's never done a damn thing for me or supported my business ventures, and they're my blood. They will forever be 1 million in my book, and they know who they are. They're to blame for my countryside and my addiction to white women, not complaining one bit. There were times I should have been detained for speeding, outstanding citations, outdated registration, dozing off at the red light before making it to my garage in downtown Dallas after a long night out. I passed a sobriety test after leaving a bar in Wiley, Texas by 2 white cops, and they still let me drive to where I was headed. And by the way, they consider Wiley, Texas to be very racist. I've never got that kind of energy from the Popo. Not saying Black lives don't matter, but don't forget about your own or your experiences through growth. And in parentheses, he added, waking up. This was posted by a controversial figure beyond Twitter, but this was posted on Twitter. And comments ensued. Don't make it right because he was ignorant. Something bad always happens when they get too comfortable. Jonathan Pryce, I love white cops, and the white cops love me back. White cops, and it's the gif of the battle rapper. I can't remember his name, but he makes the Jimmy Neutron face, or he goes by something with Neutron and he walks away. And I illustrate that to add, like, that was the storyline surrounding him when this first happened. That people wanted to minimize what our interest should be in him because he didn't hate the police like you're supposed to because you're black. Me today, right here, right now, I'm not a fan of police. I still think Jonathan Price's life mattered regardless of what he felt about the police. It wasn't that for me. It was the face that was a face like mine that was gone because he was in the right place at the right time doing the right thing, but somebody just wanted to misunderstand that. Like they set out to misunderstand who he was and what he was about. And then to have the picture painted via social media that kind of did the same thing, that purposely set out to misunderstand him. And I'm not giving him a pass, but what does that matter under these conditions? This was a good person and he's gone, but let's just make him look like he's nothing because he likes white women and he appreciates the police because white people were there for him when he grew up. What am I to do? That's supposed to sway me one way or the other, and not the fact that what happens was way more important than whatever he felt. Like the wrong Olympics. They were competing for it. Like they just wanted you to be on the right side of wrong, whatever that looks like. And I hated that space. At that time, I definitely hated reading it that way, and it had a lot to do with why I wanted to talk about it. It was disturbing. It was vile. Didn't do anything to support a cause or a movement. It just was an agenda piece, and I couldn't stand it, man. I couldn't stand it at all. All right, Jonathan had a thing for admiration for police, and he didn't like his own family, but he loved his second family because they took care of him, and his personal experiences were that of someone who had admiration for the police, had a thing for white women, had a thing for his white family, and not so much for his birth family. Doesn't, disregard or degrade his life and how much it actually mattered. I mean, he was a friend, he was a loved one, he was a pillar of the community, from what I understand, a youth coach, a motivational speaker. Like he was a good guy all the way around. So what if he stood on the blue line and was an endorser of police unions and police groups or what have you? His life mattered, just like any black life that is lost. We can't vilify the victim under any condition or circumstance. This is the part where I might contradict myself. Some victims should be vilified, and everyone isn't always as deserving as they should be. There are situations, and I believe there are situations, there are circumstances where sometimes the right people get what they deserve, and there are plenty of situations where the wrong people don't rightfully get what they deserve. This is the human nature in me. I'm not always gonna be on the side of the lost one, but in this circumstance, in this situation, I was absolutely all endorsing of Jonathan Price. It shouldn't happen. Plain and simple. It shouldn't have happened, but it did, and it does, and that troubles me. That troubles me. I don't care if he loved a white woman or he loved his white foster family or whatever the situation was, and he didn't. That doesn't matter. He should be here to tell us exactly why he loved them or didn't love them or didn't rock with them or believed in the blue. Like, I shouldn't know his name, but I do. I don't like that. I don't like it at all. Regardless of what we think of him personally, if this man was not in the wrong, and even if he was in the wrong, he didn't deserve to die. Like, all life matters, and I'm not saying that to downgrade or disregard that his black life matters, but until Black Lives Matter,
What can we do? Or what can we say? I don't like this. I don't like this one bit. I caught myself rambling there. Just in short, as a black person, I would absolutely defend that Jonathan Isaacs, is that his name? I'm sorry, Jonathan Price, that his life matters. And his black life, most importantly, matters as well.
His life matters. And for the next 40 years of my life, I want it to be known that my life matters as well. I don't want to be Jonathan Price or Botham Jean or anyone else, from Mike Brown to names escape me, but all of those lives matter as well as mine. And parts of me can completely relate to what's happened here. And it's a challenge to ignore. It's not something that I can just deal and put up with. It doesn't work for me. I deserve more. You deserve to have the opportunity to speak to me, because I should be here. Jonathan Price should be here. His family should be able to speak to him because he deserves to be here. And it's hard, and it's resurfaced. The feelings have resurfaced for me, and I'm raising black boys. They should be here. Their father should be here. Their friends should be here. We all shouldn't be taken away because of a power play, because of a power trip. Speaking of power trips, let me give you an update to the Jonathan Price case. Sorry, not the case of Jonathan Price, but the case of Sean Lucas. This is from CNN, and this was published on Friday, September the 23rd of 2022. A jury in Hunt County, Texas on Thursday found former Wolf City police officer Sean Lucas not guilty of murder in the 2020 killing of Jonathan Price outside a convenience store, as court records show. Lucas, a 24-year-old white man, was charged with murdering Price, who was black, after a preliminary investigation determined Lucas's actions were unreasonable, authorities said. Lucas was responding to a report of a disturbance and a fight in progress at the store in October 2020. Price, who was 31, greeted him and tried to shake the officer's hand. Lucas thought Price was drunk and attempted to detain him, but Price told him, "I can't be detained." Officer Lucas continued to detain Price by grabbing Price's arm using verbal commands, which were both unsuccessful. Lucas told Price he would be tased if he didn't comply, and Price began to walk away. Lucas used his taser, but the device was not fully effective, and Price continued to walk toward Officer Lucas while being tased, according to the document. Price appeared to reach out and grab the end of Officer Lucas's taser, and Lucas shot him 4 times in the upper torso. Different circumstance, same end result. This can't be it. Like, I want more, I deserve more. It's bigger than Nino Brown. It's bigger than individually Jay Del Negro. It's bigger than any one individual. Like, we matter. We're important. We do the right things. We should be here to continue to matter and be important. I don't want people to have memories of me prematurely. I matter, plain and simple. And as you're listening to this, I always feel like you matter too. So on October the 6th, 2020, I felt the way. And today, It's October the 25th of 2022. I still feel away. This is not and never will be okay.